Given though, regardless, there's still lots of ways to redeem yourself. First things first, when is our next test? Fourth day first, I can get the point. Next test is on Friday. Many people are still missing 2 assessments. What are those 2 assessments?
Their workshop and the quiz.
They're missing the math workshop test, yes. And then what's the name of the other quiz? Tell me what you're trying to do.
Completing the square.
2 said it first. Completing the square and quadratic formula. If you solve all problems by completing the square, would you get all your points? No. If you solved all problems using the quadratic formula, would you get all of your points? No. Oh, and last easy point. You have to complete the semester exam study at 3rd grade. Even if you're exempt. Yes, every group have a point.
Well, you're doing it with us, so.
Yes. Well, yes, I'm doing it during the math workshop. So how you don't have it done, I don't understand. But it is what it is. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on that. Got a lot to do today. We are overachievers. We're going to get to those 13 through 29 and do our normal notes. We've got to get started. If you know the answer and you give it before I go through the whole process, I'll definitely give you your point. Yes, ma'am. D, you get no point. Okay, so if I subtract both sides by 10, I'll have x, absolute value of x minus 3 equals negative 8. You know an absolute value can't be equal to a negative number. So she's right, 13 is D. Okay, 14. I went negative 2.3 is less than 4 plus 0.9y. I'm going to move my y's to one side, to the left. I'm going to move my numbers to the other. So if I move the y over, if I add 2.3 to both sides, less than 6.3. Some people are going to get tripped up here because when I divide by negative 0.9, I need to do what? Landing at the point. Got to flip that sign. So it should be y is greater than 7, which is A. Now, I pray when you take, if you're one of the lucky few who take the semester exam, I pray you actually show work and try to work this out to get an answer. Thank you. You get a point for that. I pray you actually try to work it out. But even if you don't and you're just guessing, there is one answer choice you should have eliminated. What answer choice was the bad answer choice this problem? D. D. So I heard it from 1, 2, 4, and 5. Okay, number 15. I've got to solve 2x minus 5 is less than or equal to 10. If I add 5, I'll have 2x is less than or equal to 15. So x is less than or equal to, 15 over 2. I like fractions better, but it's useful in this problem to know that 15 over 2 is equivalent to 7.5. I've also got to do, you've already guessed what, I'm not going to give it to you after that. 33 minus 4x is less than 5. I've got to solve this one as well. If I subtract 33 from both sides, I'll have negative 4x is less than negative 28. When I divide by negative 4, bless you, I've got to flip my signs, so I'll have x is greater than 7. So x is bigger than 7, but it's less than 7.5. So 7 is less than x is less than or equal to 7.5. And again, 7.5 is 15 over 10. So 7 is less than x is less than or equal to 15 over 2. So the answer is C. Any questions about 15? I'm going to go fast. If you need me to go back over one, you're going to have to ask. I'm just trying to make sure we can get through them all. 16. 16, I would probably put a star by. That's the one like this is what you missed mostly on the test. Again, I get this as material back from August, so it's been a while. But sadly, in math class, you need to know the old stuff. how math works. We're trying to get y by itself, so we're going to subtract 1 first, but we have to subtract 1 from everybody. So I have negative 4 is less than or equal to 2y is less than or equal to 8. Y is still not by himself. I've got to get rid of that 2. So I'm going to divide by 2, but I've got to divide everybody by 2. So I end up getting D, negative 2 is less than or equal to y is less than or equal to 4. So D. The way people get the other answer choices is they don't do it to everybody. They don't subtract 1 from everyone. They don't divide by 2 with every term. Again, it's not a good idea to guess. I am actually going to show math on 17. But if I were to guess on 17, I would guess the correct answer. What would you guess? I'm going to get a tattoo with that stamp. Yes, to one you can have a point. I'm going to get a tattoo, I think, a stamp that says absolute value problems are supposed to have 2 answers. 2 answers. So if I'm guessing, I was guessing C to begin with. I subtract by 8 on both sides, so I'll have 3x minus 6 is greater than or equal to 9. But from here, I'm supposed to have 2 cases. I'm not sure if the 3x minus 6 is dealing with a positive 9, or I'm not sure if the 3x minus 6 is dealing with a negative 9. I've got to evaluate both. So I've got my positive 9. What you've probably forgotten is, yes, I need to do my negative 9, but I also have to flip the sign. It was a greater than or equal to. For the weird one, the one that we're making, the negative version, you have to flip the sign. So I'd probably put a star by 17 too. But again, I could have guessed my answer because I realize absolute value is supposed to have 2 answer choices, unless it's a weird one like our very first one where it was a trick question. Anyway, so if we keep going, we'll have 3x is greater than or equal to 15. So x is greater than or equal to 5. So I'm already thinking it's C. If I add 6 to both sides, I'll have 3x is less than or equal to negative 3. So x is less than or equal to negative 1. Now I'm positive it's C. But regardless, I was going to guess C to begin with because I recall absolute value problems are supposed to have 2 answer choices. Now saying all that, that does not help us with 18. Because 18 has lots of answers with 2 answer choices. So we would have to work out 18 in order to get the correct answer. If I divide everybody by 3, I'll have absolute value of n minus 4 is greater than 2. Again, I have 2 cases. I'm not sure if the n minus 4 goes with a negative 2. I'm not sure if the n minus 4 really is greater than 2. For the case where I throw in that negative, I've got to flip my sign. So yeah, it's a negative 2, but instead of a greater than, it's a less than. It is. You can have a point. I add 4 to both sides. I'll have m is less than 2. I add 4 to both sides. I'll have m is greater than 6. So m is less than 2 or m is greater than 6. That's answer choice B. So 18 is B. There are a lot of inequality ones today, which to me implies there are a couple inequality ones on the semester exam. Are there any questions about the inequality ones so far? Then let's flip to 19. 19 is where first period broke my heart, second period did not. Let's pray you don't. 19 is where we start our chapter. This is where we start reviewing all the stuff that dealt with linear functions and dysfunctions in general. So it says find the range of the relation. So I need to recall what is the range. 4 gets the point. First period forgot that domain goes with x values. Range goes with y values. So literally looking at those ordered pairs, I need to look at all those y values to determine the range. So the range is 3, 5. So that it's either C or D. Now I've just got to decide, is this a function or is this not a function? Why is it not a function? Say what you said again, Travis. This is true, but that's not what you said at first. Okay, and so I'm going to give the point to 1 because she actually explained it best. 3 is trying to, well, 4 already got a point for just being 4. So, Travis is right. If we were to actually graph this, it would fail the vertical line test, which is why he's going to get a point because he's already still in my joy on the next question. It is what it is. 3 wasn't here for this, so he said it. The issue is with the y's repeating. When we were looking at repeating y's, that actually had to deal with onto. Remember 1 to 1 and onto? I had to deal with onto. If it's not a function, if the x repeats. We used to draw like a picture, like -2 is being mapped to 3, -1 is being mapped to 3, but it's also being mapped to 5. That's the problem. -1 can't go to 2 different people. So it's not a function because of the -1 in the x coordinates. And I was joking with last period, I think of it like a drink machine. If I put my money in and I press Coke, a Coke better come out. If I put my money in and 2 drinks come out, yeah, I'm happy, but technically the machine has malfunctioned. It's not a function. It's not a functioning machine. Something's going wrong. A function can only give me 1 output. Okay, and then Travis is stealing all my joy. He already knows this is the vertical line test, hence why he already got a point. The answer to 20 is D. Their favorite go-to graph that's not a function is a circle. Those are kind of fun. I like those. I wish there were more of those. Then we get to 21 through 23 where they say f at -1. So everywhere I see an x, I need to plug in -1. Why do you think they chose to do -1? What are they trying to check? Yes, they're afraid you're going to make sign errors. 3 gets point. That's why they chose it, because it's negative, and so there's potential for some sign errors. So everywhere I saw an x, I put a -1. It used to be x squared, now it's -1 squared. It used to be minus 6x, now it's minus 6 times -1. When you work this out, -1 squared is at what, baby? And see, Travis has made a sign error. The answer is actually D. So I get +1. -1 squared is +1. -6 times -1 is +6. 2 minus 1 in the denominator is just 1. We end up getting 7 if we've done our signs correctly. We get D. If you make a sign error, for instance, maybe you get in a hurry, -6 times -1, you don't get +6, you get -6. Then you end up at A. Maybe you forget -1 squared is +1. You can end up at a different answer choice. All those answer choices are up there. So sign errors could be a problem for you in life. Thankfully, that's not a problem on 22. 1 gets a point. So it was t squared minus 2t minus 2. Again, if only you can. You see these tiny variables or these tiny exponents and you need to know what that is, ask me. They said everywhere you see a t, put a 0. So we have 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 2. It is just -2, which is D. Do what, dear? It is, and you can have a point for that. 23 is C. So to me, the hardest one was 21. 23 looked intimidating because it had variables. So everywhere I used to see a t, I put a. So it used to be 2t squared. Now it's 2a squared minus a minus 2. Wait, that's C. It ended up being really easy. In fact, I didn't even have to work this one out. I knew it wasn't A, B, or D because A has a T, B has a T, D has a T, I thought if we were doing f at a, everywhere we saw a t, we replaced it with a. So why would any answer choice with a t make sense? I'm telling you, if you see f at cupcake, everywhere you see the variable, you replace it with cupcake. So I like that one. So, any questions about 21 through 23? Let's go to the next page. This is where life gets a little hazy. You've forgotten some things. It's okay, we're going to go back over it, but you've forgotten some things. 24, you can probably do. It's 25 and 26 where life gets weird. Say it again, Travis. It is. 24 is C. And you can have a point for that. This is getting to what makes something linear. So I know it's not A. That's an inequality. I know it's not B. We've been working on those for forever. That's a quadratic function. And then D, because of that exponent, it's not D either. It had to be C. And while 24 is pretty clear cut, 25 kind of requires us to remember things. We had some rules about what made things not linear. And I mean, we're going way back. This is the beginning of September, way back. You can't have exponents greater than 1. Because if it was an exponent bigger than 1, it wouldn't be linear. So that eliminates which answer choice? B's out. So, okay, before you can get your point, can you help me with that rule? No exponents bigger than 1. And then what was the other thing you said, Drea? We cannot have any variables in the denominator. You can have another point for that, ma'am. In the denominator. No other class period has been able to come up with those 2 rules except you. We have variables in the denominator. So A is out. So it's either C or D. Which one is it? Yes, dear. Yeah, it's not D because we're technically multiplying those variables. So if you want to add a third rule, you could say can't multiply 2 variables. That would work. Or, I guess I'm kind of a nerd, so I was trying to put everybody in y equals mx plus b because, you know, if it's linear, it's going to go in that form pretty easily. When I had 3xy equals 4, and I tried to get y by itself, I ended up with y equals 4 over 3x, which is back to Drea's rule, can't have a variable in the denominator. If you got real fancy on me, you do not have to do this. This is just Miss Probably need a math nerd. If you need to tune out for the next 5 seconds, that's fine. 2y equals 2x minus 1 over 4. Well, that's really, if we broke it apart, that's 2y equals 1/2 x minus 1/4. You divide everybody by 2, and I mean everybody, you end up with y equals 1/4 x minus 1/8. So, hey, I can actually put that in an x plus b. So that's why I knew for sure it was c. But like Brady's saying, it's okay that we did 2 times y. We can solve that. X times y, can't end up putting that in y equals x plus b. Okay, using all that information, what is the answer on 26? Every group can have a point. But there is an extra point available. Yes, it is B, because can't have exponents greater than 1. Can't have the x and y multiplying. There's another reason why I knew it was B. Because I've got common sense. And B was what? Yes, dear. It was in standard form. Yes, 2 and 4. You didn't hear Jessica, but she said it. It's in standard form. So the second I saw that bad boy, I was like, oh yeah, standard form's okay. That's still going to be a linear function. And then, can you believe it, 27 and 28 are dealing with standard form. So it's like they were hoping you would notice the pattern. Interesting. 27. It's either A or B. Well, it can't be C or D because C and D aren't in standard form. So, at the moment, I had y minus 4x equals 7. I've heard the answer choices both A and B. Can someone make an argument for theirs? Mm-hmm.
It has to be A because the leading variable can't be negative, so we have to multiply it by a negative 1. So y
He just stole the pooch and whatever. He gets his point. He can have a point. I can't believe you remember that, Brady. That makes me happy. Okay, so if we rearrange this, we would have negative 4x plus y equals 7. And you and I would say, oh, okay, we're done. That's good. ax plus by equals c. And technically we're not done because there were rules about standard form. The a cannot be negative. We did have a rule that that first leading coefficient cannot be a negative number. So he's right. We've got to end up multiplying everyone by negative 1. We've got to change everybody's sign because that a cannot be negative. So it ends up being 4x minus y equals negative 7, which is a. But again, that recalls you to remember the rule that that leading variable could not be, that leading, whatever, the number in front of the a. The number in front of the a, that makes no sense. The number in front of the x has to be positive. Words, English. It's like we're on the same page and we both selected the wrong answer. Okay, so I, like Eric, on 28, saw x plus 2 equals 1/5 y. I subtracted 1/5. I got, no ma'am. I got x minus 1/5 y equals negative 2. And I, like Eric, said, oh, okay, ax plus by equals c. That's my b. So the answer is negative 1/5. And I would be incorrect. There were two things we were picky about with standard form. One was that the first thing, the a could not be negative. The other thing was that a and b cannot, say it again, Landon. That's true. You can have a point. A and b cannot be fractions. We have to have pretty whole numbers. So in order to get rid of that fraction, I'm going to multiply everybody by 5. I'll get 5x minus y equals negative 10, so it's a negative 1. Again, they're tricking you because that required you to remember that last step. Because I'm with Eric. I put it in standard form. I thought the answer was negative 1/5. But we were picky in standard form that a and b had to be pretty whole numbers. They could not be fractions. And I was like, oh, okay, we're ending on a positive note. 29 is easy. In first period broke my heart, and in second period knew more than I thought. So let's see what y'all think. 29. Yes, dear. Why?
because it says entry steps, not coordinates.
Ready? You can have a point. Okay, so Brady's saving us from a bunch of trouble. But we'll come back to what he's doing in a second. For those of us here still on Earth, how are we going to figure out the x and the y intercepts? Table 2 gets a point. She's taking the long way. There's a faster way.
Like x-intercept, you have the long to 0.
4's got the faster way. He can have 2 points. Okay, so we're going to do it Jessica's way, and we're going to do it Landon's. We're going to do all the things. So, Jessica is genius, because let's be honest, we're stuck here, we don't remember. Why not put it in slope-intercept form and graph it in your calculator? No one's taking the calculator away from you. So I have negative 2y equals negative 3x plus 12. So if I divide by negative 2, I get y equals 3/2 x minus 6. So Jessica graphs that. She can find the intercepts. You wouldn't believe this, but that second calculate button still works even if it's linear. Doesn't matter what you graph, the second calculate button can still help you. And she's awesome for doing that. Is there a way faster way? Absolutely. An x-intercept happens when y is 0. So we had the equation 3x minus 2y equals 12. If I plug in a 0 for y, I'm going to have 3x equals 12. So x equals 4. My y-intercepts happen when x equals 0, so same thing, I used to have 3x minus 2y equals 12. X is now 0. So I have negative 2y equals 12, so y equals negative 6. Okay, and Landon's way is easier if you remember it. Jessica's way is the way most of us are going to do it because we know how to graph. But regardless of if you do Landon or Jessica's way, all that helps us do is eliminate C. And Brady seemed pretty confident that the answer was B. So Brady explains, okay, is there any questions from here? But seriously, all we know it's not C. Okay, Brady explained why it's not A. We can't select A. Yes, dear. Yes, and that's exactly right. So the reason it's not A is because you agree with me, that looks like an ordered pair. They're saying that the two intercepts occur at the point 4, negative 6. Literally putting those parentheses around the answers is the issue. I know, they're being way too picky. I promise if there's one like this on the exam, I'm going to accept both A and B. I have to, or else I'm just terrible. But an x-intercept would actually happen at 4, 0. Our y-intercept is actually happening at 0, negative 6. No, that's not the point 4, negative 6. Nothing's happening at that point, so it's not A. And then Landon's correct as well. And again, they're being way too picky in life. I get that. The x-intercept was 4. The y-intercept was negative 6. Technically, since they asked it in that order, the answer needs to appear in that order. D is implying x-intercept is negative 6. Y-intercept is 4. It's technically reversed the two. So it has to be B. Is 29 a pain in the rear because of how picky they're being with those answer choices? Absolutely. If there's one that's like this on the semester exam, I'm going to have to accept 2 of the answers. Because who has time to be this picky? We do not. We're not doing 30 today. If you'll remind me of this, yes, for tomorrow. Tomorrow, since he's already on it, are there any questions about these? Tomorrow we're being industrious again. We're doing 30 through my goal, for being honest, 46. So 16 problems. Well, if we don't do a big chunk each day, how are we ever going to get done? My goal is 46. I'm not promising that's where for sure we're going, but that's my goal. Okay, get out your notes from yesterday. I swear our notes today are going to take way less time than this just took. It has to. My gosh, that took almost the whole class for me. We're telling the truth, and we're being completely honest. Completing squares, what you're the worst at. Absolutely 100%. That's where you stay. You're great at the quadratic formula, pending you know the quadratic formula. You don't know that, and you probably stink at that too. If you know it, that's the easiest thing we do in this chapter. I think the second easiest thing we do, the step above quadratic, but not quite completing the square, is what we did yesterday, putting something in vertex form. Were there any questions about putting something in vertex form? I thought it was pretty easy.
In our workbook, we had one of the problems, I didn't do anything. It was the y equals negative x squared plus 24x.
The third number is a 0.
I put it as a 1.
No, the third number is a 0. It was supposed to be easy and you're overthinking your life. I know, I completely understand. Because you're right, we didn't do it just like that. Okay, go to the next page. We're on page 26 today. Today is the day where we try to make vertex form useful. So like we spent all yesterday on like, here is vertex form. Today is, if you're given something in vertex form, how is that useful? And it's the same way like when you're given something in y equals mx plus b, you can instantly graph. If I'm given vertex form, I can instantly graph. This is going to be a fast thing. We can do this pretty quickly. I'm still going to make the same list from yesterday. Vertex, axis of symmetry. I need to know the shape. And I need to know the direction. What is the direction? 6 gets the point. I know it's going up because it's a positive in front. What is my vertex?
Positive 5.
2 and 3 get a point. Don't forget that the x-coordinate ends up being the opposite sign. There are quite a few first period who wanted to say it was negative 5, 3, not 5, 3. The axis symmetry is the x-coordinate of the vertex. So it has to be 5. And then what about the shape? Am I being stretched or am I made skinny in any way? It stays the same because that A, that number in front, is 1. So we don't really have to discuss shape on this one, but I'm going to list it anyway in case it does come up. I'm going to make it come up. Okay, so we go to 5, 3. 1, 2, 3. I put my point. There's my vertex. I can draw my line for my axis symmetry if I want to. I know it's opening up. And from here, literally, since I know that one point, and I know the shape stays the same, I can graph the rest of it. I don't have to use my calculator. I don't have to do anything. I know that 1 squared is 1, so over 1 up 1. And since it's a parabola, it's symmetric, so I do it on both sides. I know that 2 squared is 4, so over 2 up 4. Over 2 up 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I had room, I would go over 3 and then up 9, because 3 squared is 9. Over 4 up 16, because 4 squared is 16. I can literally count it and graph it like that. I connect my dots as best I can. And I am a terrible point of reference. Remember, we're trying to have a U for a parabola, not a V, because a V is absolute value. So remember, you're trying to make it rounded. Mine gets a little pointy, I know. Now let's say, this is not true. Let's say Drea is lost. She doesn't understand leading the square, quadratic formula, vertex form. She at least has got to get this graphing part correct. She's got to get something right. It's okay if she's not using my tricks to graph it. Never am I ever taking this away from her. She can type it in just like it is on her paper, parentheses and all. Still get the graph. And then she can either trace, second calculate, maybe look at the table, still get points to plot from her calculator, and still get the graph and life be a good day. Now my way is way easier, and if you understand it, go for it. But at the end of the day, if Eric doesn't know how to graph, use the calculator, get points from the calculator, plot them, connect the dots, say thank God, and move on. Are there any questions about 5? 6 is going to be just as fast. Vertex. Is it 1, ma'am?
0.
Thank you, ma'am. 2 can have a point. Axis symmetry, because there's nothing out there, so we understand it's a 0. My axis symmetry is that x-coordinate. My shape is still not important at the moment because it's a negative 1 in front. As soon as we change that to a 2, a 1/2, something else, then it'll matter. At the moment, my shape is not changing. I'm not stretched. I'm not getting any fatter. I am what I am. Yes, dear? In my direction, yes, 5. You can have a point. My direction is down because of that negative out front. So I go to negative 3, 0. I put my point. Since my shape isn't changing, I'm still going to go over 1, down 1. But again, since it's down, instead of going over 1, up 1, I'm going to go over 1, down 1. Over 1, down 1. Instead of going over 2, up 4, I'm going to go over 2, down 4. Over 3, down 9. And if I had room, I would go over 4 and then down 16 because 4 squared is 16. I'm literally just squaring however many, like if I go over 1, 1 squared is 1, so I go down 1. I go over 2, 2 squared is 4, I go down 4. Really not that deep. But again, if Landon wants to, he could get this entire graph from his graphing calculator and just plot the points, and I will never know. as long as he has the vertex and his shape looks about right, I'm going to give it to him. Okay, number 7, I need to know my vertex, my axis of symmetry, my shape. Point for table 2. We don't care about the shape because it's an understood 1 again. My direction is not down though. My direction is up because it's positive in front. I know, you're in a hurry. Okay, so -7. Did I give you a point? If I didn't, you need one. -7, -4. 3 have a point for fixing it too. My axis of symmetry is a -7. If you want to draw in that axis of symmetry, you can. You don't have to. I'm only using that as a thought to myself. Like if I go over one, I can go up. I can do it on both sides because it's symmetric. That axis of symmetry makes me symmetric. Okay, so over 1 up 1. Over 2 up 4. And I'm out of room from here. I guess I could go over 3 up 9 on this side. But I can't do it on the other side really well. That's kind of lame. I'd be going off the graph. The good news is, I gave you 3 you're going to try in your workbook. Oh my gosh, Miss Compton, can you connect the dots today? Lord Jesus. Can't talk and connect dots, I guess. The left side got a little wompity. The right side was pretty good. There are 3 in your workbook you're supposed to try. Those grids are designed purposely for your problem, so you're never going to have to go off grid. Okay, are there any questions about 5, 6, or 7? We've got one more to do, and it's number 8. I've got to change it. Why do I need to change number 8? Why am I mad at number 8? It's on the next page. We'll look at it. I don't mind the negative in front. Why is this not? It's still not good enough. What do I need to do to change it? I'm going to leave the negative in front. I'm not mad at that negative. I've got to add a number or something. I've got to change that A. We've got to do something to stretch or shrink or something, because just doing all the same shape is not working for me. So we're changing the problem entirely. I still need to know my vertex, my axis of symmetry, my shape, and I get my direction as down because it's a negative. What is my vertex? Three, get a point. My axis of symmetry is 1. What about that shape? Yeah, so we were going to say it's stretched if you're going to be mathy on me. Seriously fine if you wanted to say skinnier. That 2 is seriously going to just make my graph used to look like a normal U. Now we're going to look a little skinnier. Kind of nice. Wish we could just all be multiplied by 2 and just get a little skinnier. Okay, the reason we're doing this problem is, and it starts off the same. I still go to 1, -2. That's still my first point. I still can, do my dotted line for my axis of symmetry if I want. The reason we're doing this problem, because of the skinnier, before I was going over 1 up 1, over 2 up 4, over 3 up 9. That's not going to work anymore because of that skinnier. Instead of going over 1 up 1, I'm going to go over 1, and then 1 times 2 is 2. So I'm going to go over 1 up 2. Well, actually, since it's down, I'm going to go over 1 down 2. So I used to go over 1 down 1, but because of that 2 in front, I'm going to go over 1 down 2. I used to go over 2 down 1, 2, 3, 4, but because of that 2 in front, 4 times 2 is 8. I'm going to go over 2 down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if I had room, I would go over 3, and instead of down 9, I would do 9 times 2, which is 18. Whatever that number is out front, I'm multiplying it when I do my count. So again, instead of over 1 down 1, because it's a 2 out front, 1 times 2 is 2, I did over 1 down 2. Instead of over 2 down 4, 4 times 2 is 8. I did over 2 down 8. If it was a 3 out front, I would go over 1 down 3. Over 2 down 3 times 4 is 12. If it was a 1/2 at front, instead of over 1 down 1, I go over 1 down 1/2. That number out front helps me multiply. But if that's where you lost me, and this is the kind of problem you see, again, nobody's taking the graphing calculator away from you. Graph it on the calculator. Transpose it to your real graph. Call it a day. Are there any questions about these? You have some workbook steps you work on. I'm assuming I've talked too much. Oh, look, you still got some time. I'm assuming I've talked too much. You ought to work on one of your mini things. I have lots of tests to show you. If you've got some homework you need to show me, that would be awesome.